Have you been jump-starting your vehicle all wrong? The truth is, it's a common occurrence. Many of us assume we've got the process down pat, only to find ourselves scratching our heads when our attempts fall flat. Mistakes can be easy to make, and these blunders can turn a simple task into a frustrating ordeal. But don't fret, we've got your back. Stay tuned to learn the right way to jumpstart your vehicle and avoid common pitfalls. Before we begin, safety comes first. It's a statement we've all heard, but it rings especially true when we're dealing with something as potentially dangerous as jump-starting a vehicle. This isn't just about protecting your car, it's about protecting you, your passengers, and anyone else around. Let's start with the right equipment. You'll need jumper cables, of course. Make sure they're in good condition, no frayed wires or damaged clamps, and always have a pair of safety gloves handy. They're your first line of defense against potential shocks. Next, ensure both vehicles are off before you begin. This might seem like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how often this crucial step is overlooked. An active engine during the jumpstart process can lead to electrical complications or even physical damage to both vehicles. And finally, always stay aware of your surroundings. Be mindful of moving traffic, and never attempt a jumpstart in a hazardous location. Remember, safety should never be compromised when dealing with vehicles. Now, let's get your vehicles ready for the jumpstart. The first thing we need to do is position the vehicles correctly. The vehicles should be close enough so that the jumper cables can reach, but they should not touch each other. A distance of about 2 feet should suffice. Once your vehicles are positioned, it's time to connect the jumper cables. But before we go into that, it's important to remember that these cables are not all the same. The red cable is positive, and the black one is negative. Mixing these up could result in serious damage to your vehicle's electrical system, so it's paramount to get this right. Now let's move on to connecting the cables. Start with the red, positive cable. Attach one end to the positive terminal of the dead battery. This terminal is usually marked with a plus sign or the letters POS. It's also typically larger than the negative terminal. Secure the other end of the red cable to the positive terminal of the good battery in the donor vehicle. Next, take the black, negative cable. Connect one end to the negative terminal of the good battery. This terminal is usually marked with a minus sign or the letters neg. Now here's where things get a little tricky. The other end of the black cable doesn't go to the dead battery. Instead, it should be attached to an unpainted metal part of the car with the dead battery away from the battery itself. This serves as grounding and is a crucial safety step to avoid sparks near the battery. Take a moment to double-check your connections. Red to positive and black to negative on the good battery, red to positive on the dead battery, and black to a grounded metal part on the car with the dead battery. Remember, your safety is paramount, so take your time to ensure everything is connected correctly. A rush job could lead to a dangerous situation. With everything in place, we're ready to start the jumpstart process. With everything set up, you're ready to jumpstart your vehicle. Now that we've got our safety measures in place and our equipment prepared, let's delve into the heart of the process, the step-by-step guide to correctly jump-starting your vehicle. First, we start with the donor vehicle. Turn the ignition on and let it run for a few minutes. This will charge the battery slightly and ensure that there is enough power to transfer to the dead vehicle. Keep in mind that the donor vehicle should be in park or neutral with the parking brake engaged. Once the donor vehicle is running, it's time to connect the jumper cables. Remember, it's red to red, black to black. Start by attaching one end of the red positive cable to the positive terminal on the dead battery. The positive terminal is typically larger and marked with a plus sign. Attach the other end of the red cable to the positive terminal on the donor battery. Next, attach one end of the black negative cable to the negative terminal on the donor battery. Now here's where things get a bit different. Instead of connecting the other end of the black cable to the negative terminal on the dead battery, attach it to an unpainted metal part of the dead car's engine to ground the circuit and help prevent sparks. With everything connected, let's get back to the donor vehicle. Rev the engine slightly by pressing on the gas pedal gently. This will send a charge from the donor vehicle to the dead battery. After a few moments, try starting the dead vehicle. If it starts, great job. You've successfully jump-started your vehicle. However, don't be disheartened if it doesn't start right away. This is not uncommon. If the vehicle doesn't start immediately, don't panic. Turn off both vehicles and check the connections. Make sure the cables are attached securely to the correct terminals, and that the black negative cable on the dead vehicle is attached to an unpainted metal part of the engine. Once you've confirmed everything is connected properly, Restart the donor vehicle, rev the engine slightly again, and attempt to start the dead vehicle once more. Remember, patience is key during this process. It may take a few tries to get the dead vehicle started. Once it does start, let it idle for a few minutes to help recharge the battery before you disconnect the cables. When disconnecting the cables, it's important to do it in reverse order of how you connected them. Start by removing the black negative cable from the formerly dead vehicle, then the black cable from the donor vehicle. Next, remove the red positive cable from the donor vehicle, and finally, the red cable from the vehicle you've just jump-started. Congratulations, you've successfully jump-started your vehicle, but what do you do next? Well, that's a story for another scene. Stay tuned. After jump-starting, there are a few steps to ensure your vehicle's battery regains its charge. Now that the engine is running, it's time to disconnect the jumper cables. Remember, safety first. We're going to do this in the reverse order of how we connected them. Start with the negative cable that's connected to the metal ground of the car that was jump-started. Carefully remove it, ensuring not to touch the metal part of the clamp. Next, move to the donor car and disconnect the other end of the negative cable from its battery. Again, be careful not to touch the metal parts of the clamp. Now you can safely remove the positive cable from the donor car's battery. Finally, disconnect the positive cable from the previously dead battery. Okay, cables are off. Let's talk about the battery now. It's not fully charged yet. That was just a jump start to get the vehicle running. To fully recharge the battery, you need to keep the engine running for a while. This is where the alternator comes in. The alternator is a part of your car's electrical system that turns mechanical energy into electrical energy, recharging the battery while the car is running. How long should you keep the car running? A good rule of thumb is at least 15 minutes, but if it was a deep discharge, meaning the battery was completely dead, it may take even longer. Driving around for half an hour to 45 minutes should do the trick. And remember, the more electrical components you have on, like your lights or the radio, the longer it's going to take to recharge. One last thing. If your battery keeps dying, it's a sign that something's wrong. It could be the battery itself, the alternator, or something else in the electrical system. If this happens, it's best to get your vehicle checked out by a professional. And there you have it, a successfully jump-started vehicle and a recharged battery. Let's quickly recap what we've learned today. We've journeyed through the proper steps to jump-starting a vehicle, shedding light on the common misconceptions and errors. Now, you're equipped with the knowledge to handle a dead battery situation. Firstly, we delved into the importance of safety. This cannot be overstated enough. Always ensure you're in a safe location before you begin the process. Keep in mind the importance of wearing protective gear, and remember, never touch the metal parts of the jumper cables after they've been connected. We then moved on to the preparation phase. You learned how to properly position the donor car and how to identify the positive and negative terminals on your battery. We also discussed the correct order to attach the jumper cables, starting with the positive terminal on the dead battery and ending with the negative terminal on the donor car's battery. Next, we navigated the actual jump-starting process. You discovered that the donor car should be running first, then you can attempt to start your car. And remember, if it doesn't start initially, give it a minute and try again. Lastly, we touched upon the post-jump start steps. Don't forget to disconnect the jumper cables in reverse order, starting with the negative terminal. Next time your vehicle's battery dies, you'll know exactly what to do. Remember, safety first and happy driving.